Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about the CMSS Curriculum Mini Unit. Again, CMSS is one of the guiding principles I use in most of my units. It's Critical Multicultural Social Studies. So if in the unit that you're taking with me, if you're being asked to do a CMSS Curriculum Mini Unit, then this video applies to you. If you are not, then it does not. And thanks for watching, but don't worry about it. You have plenty of other work in my unit and in other units that you're taking. But if you're asked to produce this, let me tell you a little bit about it. In the second bit of the video, I'll talk about the specifics and share some things from the marking rubric. But really, a unit for me is a curriculum unit is a collection of lessons. Specifically, this might change semester to semester, but it's about 4 lessons. A unit is much longer than that, much more detailed than that, but we're practicing at it in terms of society for the units that I teach: society, multicultural education, social studies. Those are all civics and citizenship education. Those are the topics I often teach, and when you're taking one of those units with me, you'll be writing a curriculum unit, a mini curriculum unit inspired by CMSS. I'll get to that in a bit. So, but a unit for me, a unit is a big thing with lots of lessons, and it spans quite a chunk of time. You're practicing at that, and so you'll be doing a mini unit, which for me normally means 4 lessons. 4 lessons. What is a lesson? A lesson for me is a set of a couple, 2 to 3 activities. That's all. A lesson for me is meant to be done within an hour with kids. Usually if you're producing this in one of my units, it means you're also taking it at a school site with me. Or maybe you'll be doing a practicum in which you'll be implementing and meant to teach society lessons, society or multicultural education lessons. So in a lesson's an hour for me, and it's meant to be comprised of 2 to 3 activities. What kinds of activities does one find in a lesson? Well, usually always I'll insist that it includes a literacy activity built around an age-appropriate piece of children's literature. There's such wonderful literature out there, and here at the University Library there's a collection of children's literature that's wonderful. And it addresses every theme that are, in terms of themes that are covered in my society and multicultural education units, such as class, gender, ethnicity, origin, nationality, indigeneity, sexual orientation, and sometimes themes come in and go out of that group of themes that we discuss. But those are the themes, and you'll find wonderful pieces of appropriate children's literature around each of those themes. So a mini unit has a theme, right, drawn from society, from the themes we've been discussing and will discuss in our unit, society or multicultural education. A unit will pick one of those themes and then drill down and have the 3 or 4 lessons that you'll be doing, usually 4, will be built around that theme or underneath that theme. For example, gender, or gender and Australian history. Who are women and women's movements, both European descended women and indigenous women that are not in our history textbooks here in Australia that should be? Or what does it mean to be an Australian? Or whatever it might be. So you'll explore in 4 lessons in this written assignment, and you'll teach them as well if that's part of the unit. You'll explore in 4 lessons that theme. You'll have a piece of children's literature involved in there. It'll be around society because of the theme that you choose, society or multicultural education. But you're also welcome to include maths or science. These are things that really should be integrated. There's no reason to split them up the way that we do. So those are some of the things you'll be expected to do. You will write a set of lessons, then you'll have some other parts that make up this curriculum mini unit. So I'll address the rest of those things in the second half of the video. Well, in this part of the video, I'll draw specifically on the marking rubric, which I'll be looking up and down at, so pardon my eye shifting. I'm shifty. So I'll be sharing some things with you from the marking rubric for the CMSS curriculum mini unit. As I said in the previous segment, the main chunk of it is the curriculum, the 4 lessons that you're meant to write about, sometimes to teach about. And something else to keep in mind is that this is a CMSS curriculum mini unit. A curriculum mini unit guided by critical multicultural social studies. There are specific readings that have to do with that, and specific discussions and lectures that we have had or will be having in our unit around that. So take a look at those. I may also produce a separate video that has to do with what makes something critical. But let me get back to that in a moment here. First, the major sections that we're looking for in this curriculum unit. It's one document that you will prepare as a group that has a common we voice. In this unit, we will. We believe. It's one voice. It's a curriculum mini unit you've written together. And these are the things you need to have in it. You need to have an introduction, the curriculum itself, the 4 lessons. You need to talk about some of the readings that we've had attached to this unit. So there's readings, there's a reflection segment, and there's a conclusion. I'm running out of fingers. Then there's also references and potentially an appendix. So let me go into those bits. So what's in an introduction? Well, I often call an introduction an advanced organizer. It's the intro. In this unit, in this document, we will say what is going to be found. Then you also, in this introduction, you mention the CMSS theme, the society theme that you'll be taught, or the multicultural theme, but critical, the CMSS theme that you'll be drawing on. Is it gender? Is it ethnicity? Is it indigeneity? What theme will you be drawing on? And then specifically, what very specific bit of that theme? And then what year you'll be working with, what aged student. Again, I'm going to highlight some of this more here versus all the detail because this is all laid out in the marking rubric. See the marking rubric when in doubt and the study guide. In the curriculum, what are the 4 lessons? What's the objective? What's the literature? How is it critical? Which vels do you happen to be touching upon? What piece of literature are you going to be using? How is it guided by CMSS, Critical Multicultural Social Studies? So that's the meat of it, of this assessment, this particular assessment. Also the readings. You have a section where I want you to reference at least 5 readings. 3 from the required readings and 2 others. And on the website you'll see a folder where there's the required readings and there's a bunch of extra ones. You can draw from that or draw from elsewhere. And you'll have a conclusion. This is what we did, this is why. A references section. These are the 5 readings we've referenced, or more if you want to, but you're not required to. And an appendix. In an appendix you put any additional information that you spoke about that might be useful. A poem or a handout that you found that you used, that you repurposed. Always give credit when you find something someone else has produced, but then you can always include it in the appendix. So that's the content of what you'll be including. So you have the introduction, this is what we're going to do. You have the curriculum, the lessons themselves, with the sub-bits there. You're meant to reflect on the readings and talk about how the readings help to inform what you did in your curriculum. You have a section on reflection. How do we think it went? Because in most instances you will be actually teaching the lessons that you'll be ultimately writing up here. Conclusion, this is what we did. References, appendix. We'll also be looking at, so that's thoroughness, right? Those are things that we want to see in there. Quality, again, this is with all written assignments. Is the spelling, grammar, and editing strong? And you'll be teaching youngsters at the primary and early childhood level how to read and write well, how to spell well, how to edit their work. So we expect quality work from you as well. Punctuation, the whole thing. Contractions, have the apostrophe where it belongs. These word processing programs have a grammar check usually. Give it a go. Do a good job with that. The strength of your argumentation, formatting, is it well formatted and laid out, and also timeliness is the last category. Was it turned in on time? So that's what is comprised of. That's what comprises rather this CMSS curriculum mini unit. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. And again, follow up with me in groups or individually during office hours, face-to-face, or by Skype, or on the phone. I'd be glad to answer additional questions once you've had a look at all the official unit documentation and whatnot. So go get them. Hi, I wanted to add a couple more ideas onto the CMSS Curriculum Mini Unit. Very briefly, I've mentioned I want it to be narrative. That's true. And some of your other units, you've done work with tables or sort of graphic representations of the lessons you're going to teach. You can include those if you want, but I don't want that to substitute for the narrative. I expect at least 2 written pages. In the States, we often think of numbers of pages versus numbers of words, but I want at least 2, A4 double-spaced pages per lesson. In narrative, goal, objective, look at the different criteria we have for each lesson and the marking rubric, but you're meant to write that out narratively. On top of that, if you want to sort of summarize and encapsulate all that you're going to do for each lesson in a table or some graphic way, you can do that, but it doesn't substitute for the narrative. I want you to practice writing things out in a narrative fashion. So just wanted to add that on there, and that's it. Thanks. Here's the fun fine print stuff at the end. This video is intended for students that are taking my units or classes. This is for supplementary informational purposes only. In any instance where what is said here conflicts with a unit guide, a study guide, a unit rubric, or university or faculty guidelines, they hold sway. Next, after watching this video, if you have remaining questions, set up a time to meet with me during office hours. I'd be glad to talk to you, to meet in person, by phone, or by Skype. But please read all the relevant course information first. Next, this video is produced independently from any institution and is protected under a Creative Commons copyright. Watch it, use it, enjoy it, or ignore it. Just don't change it or sell it. All right, that's the end of the fine print. Thanks.